Before we begin, I want to slow us down for a moment. Today, I'm sitting here with someone whose life has quietly crossed continents, cultures, and some of the deepest questions we carry about faith, purpose, and what it truly means to live out God's kingdom here on earth. Francis Obaika grew up in Nigeria. He spent the last 18 years in Europe, specifically Germany, serving with youth with a mission. He's married to a German, raising two beautiful kids. Along the way, Francis founded Sustainable Innovation, a movement that is creating real jobs and hopes in communities back home and African countries. But more than any title or achievement, Francis carries this gentle fire for seeing people step into their full potential and for society itself to be transformed by a message he first discovered through Dr. Miles Monroe, the message of the kingdom of God. Francis, thank you for being here today and for trusting us with your story. This is not about performance. It is not about having the right answers. It is about telling the truth, even when the truth needs a pause. If you are watching this and you are in a season of transition, if you feel like the old version of you no longer fits, but the new one has not fully arrived yet, this conversation is for you. I want you to listen slowly. Let the silence speak. Let the pauses breathe. This is the voyage, trials, transitions, and triumph. This is going to be another exciting time of the voyage, trials, transitions, and triumph. Francis, thank you for joining us. We are at the end of the year and the beginning of another year.
Yeah.
What is so special about December 31st or January 1st? What is the craze about people making new resolutions? Is there something unique about this date?
I think one of the things about the end of the year, 31st to the 1st of January, is where people make resolution because there's a feeling of failure or a feeling of lack of achievement. And there's a hope for achievement of the things that they have not achieved in the beginning of the year. So I think that's why people a lot of times make New Year resolutions and say, okay, it's a new year. I'm going to start new. Everything's going to be new. All things are passed away. So I think that's the reason why people do that.
I also want to kick this going on a personal note from you. When you look at this time of the year that everyone is talking about new beginnings, what emotions do you personally feel first? Hope, pressure, excitement, or fear?
For me, it's hope. Because one of the things about new is that there's something to expect. There's something to look forward to. There's something to do differently than the way it has been done. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful for the future. I think we learn from our mistakes, and our mistakes makes us better, and it encourages us to become better. So I will say hope.
Interesting. Let's talk about this myth or the truth about New Year goals. Every January, millions of people definitely set goals, either weight loss goal, financial goal, even spiritual goal. Well, I want to read 5 books, 10 books, whatever. But guess what? Most people will abandon these goals by February.
Yeah.
So in your experience as a coach and as a trainer, what is the real reason that makes people to quit that no one likes to admit?
I think one of the things is that people do not know how to set SMART goals. But what I mean by SMART, it's simple, it's manageable, it's attainable, it's reachable. That you set a SMART goal, make it simple. Not saying I'm going to read 5 books, We have not even read one. Okay. But at least saying, I'm going to read 3 chapters of a book before the year ends. It's a beginning. It's a goal that you can attain. You have results, because results it's a generating power that gives you the energy to continue. Because when you plant a seed and you do not see the fruits of your labor, you get discouraged. But when you see the fruits of your labor, you get encouraged. So I think setting SMART goals is a helpful area. The second thing is the anticipation of the new year. So there's an anticipation that the new year is going to be better than the last year. True, but the person who anticipates it is not out there in the air. It's you. So if last year was not that good, the question to ask is, what did I do? What could I have done to make it much better? So there's an anticipation that the new year is going to be better than the last year. True, but the person who anticipates it is not out there in the air. It's you. So if last year was not that good, the question to ask is, what did I do? So there's an anticipation that the new year is going to be better than the last year. True, but the person who anticipates it is not out there in the air. It's you. So if last year was not that good, the question to ask is, what did I do that can be of great benefit to me in the now and in the future?
Somebody is watching and they have set goals previous year and they did not achieve it. So they are saying, what is the essence of setting another goal for another new year?
Yeah.
And they do not have that hope. What would be your message to such a person?
Well, my message to you would be very simple. Set a goal. Because if you do not have a point of direction, you will not have a point of destination. So, but set the goal in such a way that it is not overwhelming for you. Simple. For example, this year, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes. Just go for a walk for 10 minutes. Set the clock 10 minutes. Because you don't like to go for a walk, but you cannot say, I'm going to go for a walk for 30 minutes. You're not going to achieve that. You're not. It's even going to be overwhelming for you. But when you say 10 minutes, I have my clock set for 10 minutes. I go out for a walk for 10 minutes, and then it becomes normal. You acclimatize, you get used to it, and it's joyful. But don't be discouraged for not setting goals, because dreams without goals is failure. You need to set a goal, you have to dream. And then you set the goal. But you're setting the goal not for someone's benefit. The goal has to benefit you.
When it comes to the goal actually benefiting the person that is setting up the goal, is it a question of indiscipline or something deeper that makes people not to follow through with their goal?
I wouldn't base it on just indiscipline.
Okay.
Because indiscipline sounds very strong, like very hard, I'm very indisciplined. But I would say is asking the question, what is my motivation? You will always do something that you're motivated for. If you're motivated to meet your friend, you'll be anticipating the arrival of your friend. So, but more or less is saying, what actually motivates me for the next year? What are some things that I look back at that are regrets? Because regrets can become discouraging, but regrets can become a fuel to help you move forward. It's like a jet engine. A jet engine works by the power of kerosene released, and then the jet takes and picks up the fire and runs with it. And then the plane takes off. But when the plane maintains its altitude, the pilot says we have maintained cruise altitude, and everybody's enjoying the air. But if the plane were to be able to speak, it will tell you the energy, the gasoline, the force at which it took to get there. So I say setting a goal, in the beginning, it feels painful. But when you see the end result, it's joyful. So I'll say don't let the beginning stop you from achieving the end result.
You talk about motivation as a fuel. I've come across people who say, I don't even have any motivation to get out of bed this morning.
True.
I don't have any motivation to go to the gym. I don't have any motivation to even pick up the book to read. Is motivation and enthusiasm enough to achieve a goal?
I would say if you're not motivated to do something, then maybe look in the mirror. And the mirror will speak to you. Because if you're not motivated to stand out of bed, you're saying you're not motivated for life in itself generally. Because when you're in the bed, but nothing's going to get done. But I think motivation in itself it's not just using the word, because that word motivation has a lot in it. But more or less it's saying, do I really want to enjoy life? Because if you're looking at enjoying life itself, you'll be motivated for your own joy. So the push is not actually the motivation. The push is actually everything I do benefits me. If I'm not motivated for life, then that means you're demotivated for life. And everything you will do will become a sense of duty, not a sense of joy. And that can be painful. But if one were to look at the spiritual aspect of the lack of motivation, one will say that the lack of motivation stops people from achieving their goals and aspirations in life. So very simply, I always used to say, pray the prayer. I say, Lord, give me the capacity to be motivated to achieve the things that my heart burns for. But don't go to 100 quickly. Start with 1. To climb a story building, you start with the first step. Start with the first step. Be graceful with yourself. You wake up in the morning, I don't want to roll out of bed. Roll halfway and roll the rest later.
Interesting. So let's go a bit deeper here. Talking about the pain behind unmet potentials or even unmet goals. What is the common regret you hear from people who did not either achieve their goal or become who they believe they are to be when they set a goal?
I think sometimes it's living other people's goals. Because you see other people are doing it, you do it. Sometimes is living other people's lives. So you're living a life based on what will people think, not based on what I enjoy doing. So you're living your life for people, or the aspect is too much, it's stressful. But I always used to say, when I hear people say life is stressful, I always used to say, well, who said life is never going to be stressful? Now, the definition of stressful comes from the person who is speaking it. And one of the things about it is that once you begin to speak out something and you say it quite long enough, you recognize that you become that thing. So in essence, when you're saying life is stressful, you're already speaking into life, and life will be stressful to you because you're saying life is stressful. But not to negate the other side. It's not saying life is enjoyable when it's not enjoyable, but it's looking at what is the deep cause of me speaking those words of life is stressful by myself. So it's going backwards. It's going back and say, what stresses me? What are some things I've put on myself that stresses me? What are some expectations that I've allowed people put on me and I have embraced on myself that stresses me? So how do I take off those baggages? And I think the most important thing is valuing yourself as important as much as you value others as important. Because if you do not treat yourself, if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? If someone can take care of you, but when that person is absent, then that event is over. but it's taking care of yourself and valuing yourself and wanting to give yourself the best. Because if you give yourself the best, people around you will enjoy the best of you.
You talk about setting simple goals. What are some practical tools or practical steps that someone can actually use to measure if their goal is simple, or how can they actually set simple, achievable goals?
I think I just give an example. A couple of years ago, I recognized that at the end of the year, I was working overtime because most of the bills come in January. So when the year starts coming to an end, I kind of start thinking, well, what do I do with January? But then I came up with a thought and I said, why don't I start from the beginning of the year to prepare for the end of the year? So what I did was I created a certain financial goal that I wanted to set up from the beginning of the year. And I kept myself accountable to that. And I saw the benefits of that goal at the end of the year. So at the end of the year, when January came and the bills came in, there was no stress to pay those bills because I've already prepared it right from the beginning of the year. So every month I was putting aside a certain amount of money so that at the end of the year, what is needed at the beginning of the year is already there. So it was very simple. I had to just think it through and say, okay, I will be disciplined to do it. Now, this is very shocking. I walked into McDonald's. I walked into any of the fast food place and I wanted to buy something. But I stepped in there and as soon as I stepped in, I said to myself, what if I take this money and invest it into what I want to do? So I walk in there and I go, it's been nice being in McDonald's, goodbye. And I walk out. Now, the money I was supposed to spend there, I took it and I invested it somewhere else. Now, did I punish myself from not having a McDonald's? No. I stepped into the McDonald's, I enjoyed the atmosphere, but I said to myself, can I use this money to invest it into something else that will produce results for me in the future? And I said, yes. I stepped out of there and I invested there. So it takes a sense of discipline, but also and I know most people don't like that word discipline because the word discipline sounds, this is too rigid than the rest of them. But if you don't have discipline in your life, you will not go far.
Wow.
You won't go far. Because the thing is that life in itself needs a certain level, not over discipline, needs a certain level of discipline to allow you to achieve certain things. An indisciplined life or an indisciplined person will always go with the flow. And you always know when the flow moves. So you're following people that have a destination they're going to, but you're heading to no destination. So even when they arrive at their destination, you're not arriving. Because they've arrived and they will now spread, you're kind of going, okay, what do we do next? But if you have a certain level of discipline, not over discipline, but a certain level of discipline that allows you to say, okay, this is something I want to do for this reason. And then the results, you will see it. And most times you don't see the results at the beginning. You see the results at the end.
Talking about discipline, what is the place of having a community of people or somebody who is already well disciplined in an area where you are setting goal and you want to associate with them in order to be motivated to achieve your own goal? How do you balance that with, you are not just copying them, but you want to surround yourself with like-minded people?
You should, because birds of the same feather flock together. Because you should surround yourself with people who have learned the art of discipline. Because they'll be able to encourage you, not enforce you, but encourage you to be able to achieve the goals that you have because they have succeeded in it. It's like I heard a story of a young man who wanted to be a multimillionaire. If you want to be a multimillionaire, you have to hang out with multimillionaires. Okay, because if you don't hang out with multimillionaires, because they know how to. So he went to one of the areas where multimillionaires live, and he knocked, rang the bell, and as soon as they opened the door, he said, "Can I ask you a question?" And the gentleman said to him, "Yes." He said, "How can I be a millionaire?" Now I think it was the eighth person that took him serious. And he said, "Are you serious? Like, are you joking?" I said, "I'm serious." And he wanted to rub minds with someone who had already gone down the road ahead of him. So I will say, yes, associate yourself with people who have discipline in their lives. There'll be a source of encouragement, not a source of weight, but a source of encouragement to you.
Interesting. So earlier on, you talked about having a system in place so that you are not waiting at the end of the year.
Yeah.
For people setting goals for the new year, what kind of system can they set in place so that will facilitate the process of achieving their goal?
I mean, it depends on what kind of goals you want to achieve.
Yeah.
If it's an economic goal, marital goal, educational goal, it depends. But I think one of the things, if you're looking at the aspect of, let me say, economic goals,
Okay.
is to look at how has the economy been so far? What are some of the flaws you've seen with your economy? And then the other aspect is looking at that and say, okay, it's been wonderful or it's not been fantastic. Then looking forward and say, okay, what do I want to have for the next year, 2026? Do I want to be financially buoyant, self-sufficient? Then it's okay to say that, but it's to say, how do I get there? Because I think it's the how that is the challenge. Sometimes, praise God for social media, you can find all those things there, but find someone who has succeeded. Find someone who has, he has succeeded and he's on the way and he knows what to do, and enable them to be that encouragement to you as you set those goals, so that you're setting realistic goals. You're setting goals that are very simple to attain. You're setting goals that will not be overwhelming, but goals that will be very helpful to achieve what you want to achieve.
Talking about having a community of like-minded people around, I can really relate to that, because I remember that when I started doing videos and all of this stuff, I just begin to hang around people who are recording amazing videos that was wow, I like their style, their delivery, the quality. And whenever I feel demotivated, I'll just begin to, watch their videos or see different camera settings. And now, I enjoy doing it.
I can see that.
I enjoy doing it. So I definitely agree that, to find, that community of people, it is very good. But one challenge that now comes with that is the question of accountability.
Yeah.
People don't want to be accountable to anyone. How can someone that wants to achieve a goal and find possibly a mentor or a community not shy away from being accountable? Is that something that people are afraid will be exposed?
Yes, I think the thing is the whole aspect of control. The second aspect is a revelation of weakness. But the thing about accountability, an accountability partner or someone who keeps you accountable, his job is not to push you down. His job is to encourage you. His job is to remind you why you're doing what you're doing. His job is to encourage you and to see where you're going to be getting to. So he's keeping you accountable. And by the way, your accountable partner, actually, it's not an easy job to be an accountable. It's quite work to be someone's accountability partner. It's quite work. So that person is actually doing it and is trusting that you are allowing them to speak into their lives. But I think the fear is it's going to expose something about me. The fear is that people will see sides of me that they've never seen before, and is that aspect of I don't want to be looked down upon or exposed. But I would say if you understand the whole concept of accountability, it's very helpful. Because it promotes you and also gives the person who's your accountability partner to open doors for you to go through.
For me now that wants to lose, I want to have six packs. I should find people who already have six packs and be accountable to them. Well, find an accountability partner that can work with you to achieve your goal. Now, still talking about goal setting. How will people know whether their goal align with their values, or it is just borrowed from culture or social media influence? Because I've realized that might be part of the reason why many people don't achieve their goal, because there is a misalignment.
Yeah. I think the thing is always asking the question, like we say, goal setting for the next year. I think before you start setting the goal is to ask the question, what am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing?
Why am I doing what I'm doing?
Am I doing it because I heard it? Am I doing it because society said it? Am I doing it because everybody's doing it? Or am I doing it because I want to do it? And if it's the last one, I'm doing it because I want to do it, then ask the question, why? Why do you want to do it? Because then it will show the essence and the reason, what the motivation behind what you're doing. A lot of times the pressure, the peer pressure, everybody's setting goals. You go for hangout of the new year. Everybody's asking, so what's your goal for 2026? You're like, I have to have an answer, I'm thinking, no. But more or less, and sometimes I think there's this fear of, I need to know. But you don't need to know. If you don't know, you just say, I don't know. I'm still thinking through the process. But that in itself is like, people will take you, this person is not serious. But that's what they think. I used to say this, you can never stop people from thinking what they want to think.
Very true.
You can never. People can think good or bad. You can't stop that. But you can stop people from allowing them value you based on their evaluation.
Wow. That's amazing. For you personally, have you ever chased a goal that looked right but felt wrong?
That's a good question. I think because I'm very intentional when I set goals. I think one of the things was, in the beginning when I started Sustainable Innovation, people asked me a question and said, how in the world are you going to be able to achieve this? Because it's literally bigger than what you think. How do you begin to create jobs for people? How do you begin to empower people? How do you do that? Your father is not the president of the country. And I knew that it was the time to do it, because I'd worked in the nonprofit for a long period of time. And now I find myself that I have to begin to generate income, or rather raise finances to be able to reach this things. In one hand, it felt right, but on the other hand, it looked impossible. Because when I looked at our budget sometimes I look at the budget for the year, I kind of go, where are we going to find 300,000 to build this and to do this and to do that? But over the years, I didn't start with 300,000. I started small and then grew. And I think that's one of the disciplines. We do not want to start big. We start small, because a baby doesn't grow up in one day.
True.
It takes a while. A business doesn't go kaboom in one day. It takes a while to grow. And I think that's one of the things that we have lost now. We're not willing to allow time work itself.
Wow.
We want to speed things up. And anything you speed up will stop. Because it's not nature. Nature needs time to build. So I think it's one of the things that I gave it time. It looked impossible. But as things began to develop and build, people began to see, it's possible.
Wow, that's amazing. So you help individuals to achieve their potentials, achieve their goals,
Yeah.
and you also help organizations, to think clearly
Yeah.
and to grow. But I realized that people often fail at leading themselves.
Yes.
And so my question now is, what leadership principles do you see that it works at work but collapse at home, and why?
I think one of the things is that whatever works outside has to work inside first. Because if it works outside, and it doesn't work inside, it will collapse. It's already a sign that it's going to collapse. It's already a sign. But I think one of the things is strength. If you're building a story building, the foundation is very important. So if you have a 3-story building and you have a foundation for just one, it might look flamboyant and wonderful and the story building might stand, but it's going to collapse because the foundation is not built for 3-story building. So I think one of the things is building a foundation that allows the goals that you're setting to be able, or the achievement of those goals, to be able to stand firm in the outside and in the inside. And also be aware, because with technology today, even though the foundation wasn't set, you can rechange and reshift. But when you see that happening, not to be discouraged about it, but to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what are some aspects of my success outside, but my failures inside? How do I supplement? How do I fix this thing? What are some incentives I need to add to strengthen so that the balance of the in and out works well? If you succeed inside, it's easy to succeed outside and keep the balance. But if you succeed outside and you fail inside, because the inside is more intimate and the outside is you're keeping a persona, a profile. So it's always saying, what is the profile that I protect in the outside that I don't protect in the inside? So you do everything in your power to protect the profile of the outside. But because the inside is very intimate, what do I need to do to protect the profile of the inside too, so it's strong too?
So in that regard, so why is it that as human beings, we give our best energies to companies, like you said, outside, but not our own lives, not even to achieve our own personal goal?
I think one of the things is when you look at companies, organizations, you get a reward when you work for them.
Very true.
Okay. The reward you get is a salary. Okay. And that salary you get, or the perks that come along with those salaries, the benefits you get. The benefits you get, subconsciously, you do not know you're working for those benefits. So, for example, your boss say you have to be in the office at 8 o'clock. You show up at 7:45. Okay. so technically what you're trying to do is you're trying to let your boss know that I'm very reliable. But when it comes to you investing to making someone successful. So a lot of times people don't look at it this way. That person that you're making to become successful cares about you or may not even care about you.
Wow.
But then comes the question, do you care about yourself? If you can make someone successful, why can't you make yourself successful? I had a young a politician I was working with once, and he said something to me. He said, I was given €500,000 and I was able to manage the €500,000 and made my boss wealthy. But it dawned on me that I have not even smelled that amount of money. He said it dawned on me that I was so determined to use this money so well and multiply this money. And then he said, I realized I did it for someone, but I never did it for myself.
Wow.
So he had to reverse the coin around. And he said, all the knowledge I used to make someone wealthy, why don't I use that same knowledge to make myself wealthy? So I think one of the things is there's an assumption that the places we work at, our lives cannot move forward without them.
And that is an illusion.
Exactly. So we become slaves
of our employers.
Yes. and not recognizing that we're actually slaves to our employers. I'm not saying don't work. No, I'm saying if others are benefiting from you making them successful, how can you take that same energy to make yourself successful? So which means that one has to sit and rethink, because we have been, the challenging thing is that our educational system also is set up in that way too. Educational system is set up in such a way that it is much safer to be a civil servant working for the government than working for yourself. Because if you work for yourself, the laborious work that is involved is a lot. So everything is taken care of for you. You'll have your retirement fund, you'll have every single thing. But at the end of the day, you've given your strength to that labor. You've multiplied times 100 that person becomes more wealthy, and you only get maybe 3% of what they've done. So at the end of the day, when you sit and evaluate your life, you kind of go, my goodness, my life was busy serving people, but not busy investing in my own.
Talking about that, what are the habits that one needs to cultivate in order to achieve their goal for the new year?
I think one of the things about habits is mostly, and cultivation, because the thing is, you need to cultivate a sense of valuing yourself. You need to cultivate a sense of understanding what are the benefits of the goals I'm setting. For example, for a family, if you're a family person, you're setting goals for the family. At the end of the day, you want the best for everybody. And that's why those goals are set. I use an example for a mother. She's like, okay, last year I was very lenient. You throw your clothes wherever you want to. And I say, okay, amen, hallelujah, I'm going to pick it up for you. But then the mother realized, okay, if I keep doing this, I must do this all the days of my life. So she's going to set a goal and say, okay, kids, I want you to make sure your rooms are kept in order for this reason. So she's working with a long-term planning. If you're not able to do this now, you're not able to do that later on. So, and also with a mother, she has to put a sense of discipline. There has to be a certain level of, if you don't do this, you don't get this. And the thing is that the human nature loves discipline. If you do not have discipline, or you do not discipline a child, nobody volunteers to be disciplined. Nobody does that. But the benefits of discipline is seen. If let me use someone who is an actor and he has to be on set. So he has to really memorize his lines, because if you don't memorize those lines and go through it, when you get on set, everyone is depending on your part of the picture. And you get on set and you're like, oh, guys, sorry, I forgot my lines. And everybody's like, what are you thinking? Now, the director will fire you because it's like, you're not serious. You're delaying everybody. But it takes a little effort to discipline, to study your line, memorize your line, and get on the stage. But you see the result when the whole movie is compiled together and you watch yourself acting. You're like, wow, that was really good. That's the result. But the pain, or rather the challenge of studying and practicing, constant repetition to get those lines, is what got you there. So I think it's one of the things where sometimes we don't need to look at the pain itself, but look at what do I cultivate at the end if I set goals for myself.
You talk about reward earlier on. What are some rewards that you can give yourself that can continue to motivate you to achieve your goal?
Yeah, sometimes take yourself out for coffee.
Okay.
sometimes buy yourself a gift. I think it's easy to reward people, but it's very easy to forget yourself.
Wow.
So you forget yourself. Like sometimes I sometimes have to go, whenever I do something and it's very successful, I tell myself, let's go out.
Let's go and have fun.
Let's go out. Like I take myself out and I go, this is just to say thank you to you for the good job you did. So in essence, appreciation. You appreciate, because yes, sometimes you're meant to be appreciated, But if when people don't appreciate you and you succeed in something, appreciate yourself.
My kids at the end of the school year said, "Daddy, let's go to a nice restaurant." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, I understand now. It is about appreciating yourself and giving yourself a reward in one form or the other."
Yeah.
That is interesting. If someone is listening right now and they have already failed before and they're already thinking, well, I may fail again with this new goal at their resolution before February, what will you want them to hear right now without motivation, without hype? What is it that you want them to hear right now?
What I would say to you, try and try again. Don't give up trying. The guy that created the fluorescent light, he tried 120 times and he became successful. The drink called 7-Up, he tried seven times, and it was the 7th time he got the solution right. That's why it's called 7-Up. Yes, you failed last year. Does not mean you're going to fail this year. Let last year be last year, and let this year be this year. So I would say, have hope and faith in yourself, arise and try again.
Some people are hard on themselves because they do not achieve their previous goal. How can people not lower their standards, but at the same time not harsh on themselves, but be tender towards themselves, even in the process of achieving their goal?
I think it's very easy to be graceful with others, but very difficult to be graceful with yourself.
Wow.
But apply the grace that you're able to give to others to yourself.
Apply the grace
you're able
to give to others
to yourself.
Apply it to yourself as well.
And when you do apply that grace to yourself, you recognize that actually you do need grace. I used to say this: failure is not bad. Every single successful person on the planet failed. All of them, from Steve Jobs to Dale, all of them to Bill Gates, and they failed. In order to succeed, you must fail. Because it's in that failure, we define it as failure, but it's in that failure that's where your success comes from.
Wow.
Because a lot of times we look at failure as, oh goodness, I failed. No. But your failure allows you to see what you can do better and where to invest more. But it depends on how you perceive failure to be. I see failure as a stepping stone.
So even if somebody had started a business before and in quote, the business failed, it is not a failure.
No, you learn from it. You learn because the goal of that business, the business failed for a reason. It didn't fail because the devil came and slapped you. Okay. No, the business failed for a reason. And that's where you need to sit and analyze, what did I do that caused this business to fail? You know, sometimes people just go into business because they think it's a fantastic idea. No, do your visibility studies first. One of the things we do in sustainable innovation is that whenever there's a project that comes up, my job is to deflate the project. My job is to create, I call it the assimilator. My job is to make the project fail. And then someone said, why do you do that? I said, because we want to think ahead. We're assimilating, in case this happens, what do we do? So a lot of times we see the success of the business, but we also do not see the challenges involved within that business and say, okay, if this happens, how do I step out of it? So yes, the business has failed and packed up. Don't be too quick to start again. Rather, evaluate. Evaluate. We started well, we ended bad. How did we end here? What were some of the mistakes we made? Learn from those mistakes again and then engage. But it might not be the same business. I used to say, if 20 people are doing the same thing, why are you doing it? Don't do it. But if 20 people are doing the same thing, but you have an edge out of the 20, there's something that is a little bit spicy, very different, then do it. Let that be your voice. But, and that's one of the things about business, don't get into business emotional, because you will fail.
Wow.
Because it's emotional. But get into business and you look at the business, sit down with someone who is a business analyst or who can, hear it, work with you, sit down with the taxes people and do all the visibility study before you dive into the business.
Amazing. How can someone now separate themselves not as a failure, but that, the project failed or the business failed or I'm unable to achieve my goal, but not to see themselves as a failure? Because I realize that is what a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
How can somebody overcome that sense?
I think one of the things I always used to say, this is where the God factor comes into the picture. No one created by God is a failure. No one. Some people say, what about all those kids who their brains are not functioning well? I mean, have they failed? And I said, from God's perspective, they've not failed. But I think the definition of failure comes from us. It's from us. We are the ones. I mean, I'm a practical example. I'm a practical example, like a practical example. I'm sitting down here today. I'm not supposed to be successful in the things I've done. I grew up thinking I'm a failure. But I had to change my perspective of the thoughts I saw myself, my identity. I had to begin to see myself based on the concept in which God has designed me to be. And when he made me, he didn't call me failure. And today I can understand when people say, we're failed. And yes, when you fail, it's not an exciting time. It's not, you feel the pain, you go through the emotions, you go through everything, you ask all the why questions and you don't get any answers. Okay? But that's the reason why. It's the emotions. Give it time. You will walk away from it. But don't, you won't forget it. Learn from it, but don't give up. I think one of the things, the reason why I said that sentence, failure is not bad, is because failure has always been defined as bad. But when I started looking and I started asking questions of successful people, and they said, we failed, but it doesn't mean we failed. It meant we learned a lesson from the failure. And I was like, it's true, because when you fail at something, you get better at it.
Very true. Very true. So, which one is much more important? Achieving the goal or who you become when you achieve the goal?
I think the second one. Who you become, because it's a journey. Because you will achieve the goal anyways. But while you are heading towards that goal achieving, you're learning things. Your character is building. You're gaining skill, you're meeting people, you're connecting with people, networking with people. And you are not the same person at the end because you have gone through the journey. And I think life in itself is a journey. You have people that come along your way that stay there. You have others that fall off. But I think it's more the goal you will achieve. But the journey is very important.
Interesting. The journey is very important.
It's very important.
So talking about the journey, let me ask you a personal question here. For this next season of your life, who do you need to become? And even if no one sees it or applauds over it, can you describe who do you need to become in this next season of your life?
It's a very good question. I've asked myself that question. I said, what is the legacy I want to leave behind for my life? And it's just two things. I leave for just two reasons. The first is to add value to people's lives. And the second is to encourage people to achieve their full potential in life. And when I mean full potential. And that's the essence in which I live right now, with the awareness that my goal actually is to meet people. When I meet people along the way, and I hear it every time, I do ask the question, what do you want to do with your life? The answer to that question is, I don't know. And it's a truthful question. It's a truthful answer. I don't know is a truthful answer, but it's at that point that I go, okay, do you want to know? And a lot of times people are like, yeah, but I don't really know how to know. And then I work the process with them. And the goal is to be able to add value to people's lives in the now and also in the future, but also encourage people to stop looking without, but look within. To say you're not empty. There's something you carry, but you have not figured it out yet. Yes. So let's start figuring out now, so that you can begin to live your full potential and become who God has designed it to be.
Wow. So you talk about being a bridge for countries, for individuals, to even a bridge to achieve their goal.
Yes.
But the way I look at it is that, yes, through your organization, Sustainable Innovation, you're a bridge for the transfer of wealth and capital to develop and for skill acquisition. But you are also a bridge from where people are and who they need to become. And to me, that seems like a tall goal and a tall achievement. Is there any part of that that scares you?
No. I think one of the things about being scared, I've been scared most of my life. So actually, it's the bigger it is, the better it is. Why? There's a reason why. Because I serve a God that nothing is impossible for him. But I'm at the same time, as I say that, I also need to be very careful. It's not saying living a life without knowledge and understanding, no. But more or less, he's saying there's nothing that is impossible to do if you really put your mind to it. And if you're really open to go the way and to be willing to talk about it. Like sustainable innovation, I call sustainable innovation is a platform. I created that platform so that people can come and operate, dance on it, work on it. Every single project that we do, we don't take the credit. And that's what surprises people. We allow people to take the credit. Our joy is seeing people receive what they need to receive. But at the same time, as people take the credit in the sense that corporate identities, those who support or invest in a project, we make sure that they get recognized for their investment. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is to allow people to be able to, we're a channel at which people receive what they need to receive. So on a bigger scale, like Play and Preach that we're doing, we're looking at building this whole thing. It's big. And of course, when I look at the whole project, it's huge. But I'm not scared about it for a reason, because it's not been something that just started yesterday. It has been years of constant working, processing, and seeing things become reality. That's why I'm not scared.
So as we begin to wrap up on this session, when this new year that we are going into ends and people look back, what do you hope that they see change inside them and not just what they achieved?
I think growth, that they can see that they've grown. They can also see that they're not the same people that they were in the beginning, at the end. They can also see that their network and their relationship with people have grown. They can also see that relationship has been restored. They can also see that family has been, with the discords and everything happening, there's unity that is taking place. They can also see that economically they are different from the place that they were previously. and they have also learned from their mistakes. I think one of the things as we step into the new year is that people work with the assumptions, if I set a goal, I will not make mistakes. You will. You will. But is not allowing those mistakes hinder you from moving forward. But as you make those mistakes, learn from them and move forward. I think one of the biggest challenge is when you fall. Staying there on the ground is not going to get you anywhere. Stand up, dust yourself, and walk up. And I say the greatest illustration is watching a child walk for the first time. They stand up. I mean, you don't tell a child when they're going to walk. They don't tell you. they just stand up. Now, the wonderful thing is that the child falls. He falls. She falls. But the wonderful thing is that they stand up again and they try again. They fall, they try again. And after a while, they start walking. So I think we should learn from children that even when we set goals, we should set the goals. But when we fail along the way, don't stay on the ground. Stand up. Try again and again and again until you succeed.
What is the place of gratitude in goal achievement?
Be grateful for what you have achieved so far. Because sometimes you can be setting goals, but you don't look back at the things that you have already achieved. So it's being grateful for the things you've achieved. Also be grateful for the people around you. Because we don't live in isolation. We need people. I mean, we're here having this conversation, okay? If you hadn't invited me here, we need people around us. And also be grateful for the people that are around you. And sometimes there's always this, they say familiarity breeds contempt. It's also recognizing those people that you rub shoulders with. Be grateful for them. Because they have one way or the other impacted in your life as you have also imparted in their lives. And also be grateful. I used to say this. I used to say to children, be grateful for your parents. I used to say to husbands, be grateful for your wife. And I say to wives, be grateful for your husband. And I used to say to families, grandparents, sometimes they're so grateful for the grandchildren, but they forget their children. But I said, gratefulness, I think it's a life of gratitude enables you recognize that you did not do it alone. You needed others to hold your hands up to be able to achieve the things you've achieved in life. So I think gratefulness is very important.
And on that note, we will wrap up our session for today, that gratitude is key. And that regardless of what has happened in the previous year, it is gratitude that will take you to the next year. It is gratitude that will give you a different perspective to life. It is gratitude that will also give you the motivation, the energy to achieve the goal that you have set for yourself. That no matter how the situation might be, you are not where you used to be. And therefore, there is hope for the new year. So, from the voyage, we wish you an happy new year, knowing that there will be days and moments of trials, transitions, and definitely triumph in the new year. Thank you so much, Francis, for joining us on the set of The Voyage. If I may ask, what will be your last word for someone watching right now?
Well, my last word for you is the year 2026 is going to be much sweeter than 2025. Look at the year with a sense of gratitude and a sense of hope. I know sometimes that might be challenging for you, but I also want to say to you that as God has allowed you to be alive in 2025, He will also allow you to succeed and be alive by God's grace in 2026.
As we bring this conversation to a close, I don't want you to rush back into your day. Some conversations are not meant to be consumed. They are meant to be carried. What you just heard was not a sermon. It wasn't a strategy. It was a life unfolding in real time. If something in Francis' story stirred you, if it reminded you of a question you have been avoiding, or a calling you have been delaying, sit with it. Growth does not always come with clarity. Sometimes it comes with surrender. And if you are in a valley right now, hear this. You are not lost. You are becoming. Thank you for allowing this moment to breathe with us. Thank you for honoring the silence. This is the voyage where we don't just talk about life, we feel it. Until next time, keep walking.